So welcome to anyone who's just joined. We're going to be talking about some digital marketing tips, strategies, ideas for nonprofits today. So for anyone who's unfamiliar with Feathr or new here, Feathr is the digital marketing platform for nonprofits. So if you're looking to drive donations, if you're doing some end of year giving appeals, promoting events, increasing awareness in general year round, Feathr offers tools to help you do that. So we help you grow your audience, get in front of relevant new people with digital advertising campaigns, and then sort of nurture those people toward converting, whatever that looks like for you. So donations, event attendance, course registrations, things like that. And then we provide lots of reporting and analytics so you can actually compare channels side by side, pull everything into one place and see what's working and what needs a little bit of improvement. And we work with more than 1,500 nonprofits. So lots of different types of orgs here, animal services, food banks, health services orgs. So kind of run the gamut here of organization types and nonprofits. So, all right, and I am Isa Hasty. I'm the Senior Content Marketing Manager here, and I'll be sending out the recording and the slide deck after. So I included my email here just in case you have any questions. I'm happy to chat, so reach out if you have anything. So let's dive in. So I wanted to start, we're going to be going over 11 tips, but this is sort of the preliminary sort of prefacing and setting the stage here. Nonprofits need digital advertising. So if you're on this webinar, I assume you've kind of bought into that idea and bought into the importance of digital advertising. But I think in the nonprofit world, it can obviously, or it can often kind of like feel like a dirty word, advertising, because you associate it maybe with corporate America or capitalism or sort of like what for-profit retail companies are doing. But it is absolutely something that nonprofits need to do in order to stay competitive and reaching people online. People are spending their time online. And so we're here to sort of encourage nonprofits to think about investing in digital advertising if you aren't already. And if you are, think about trying to own that data to the degree that you can. So one of the things I hear when I talk to nonprofits a lot is that they're running some digital advertising here and there, maybe some Facebook ads, but they don't necessarily have a lot of visibility or control of the data or the campaigns even, because sometimes they're relying on an outside agency to do that. And so I think it's really helpful to run some digital advertising campaigns in-house so that you can actually test messaging, see what's resonating with your audience, things like that, and really see like where your budget's going and where you want to move things around. So having a platform that lets you run your own digital advertising is very helpful. But just at baseline, getting on board with digital advertising is really important for nonprofits. There's still, I think, a heavy emphasis on print advertising, which does have its place, but that works really well with combined with digital advertising. So I just kind of wanted to set the stage there, and hopefully we're all kind of in agreement that digital advertising is absolutely essential for nonprofits today. So let's get into some specific campaign ideas and digital strategies. So speaking of advertising, so a lot of the things I'm going to go through now at the beginning are advertising campaigns, and then we'll get into a few other types of ideas at the end. So retargeting. So you want to actually use retargeting in general year-round to engage your audience based on their activities on your website. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But retargeting ads are also something you can do to target cart abandoners. So people who hit your donate page and don't end up giving, people who look at your event registration page but don't sign up for the event, right? Those are what we call cart abandoners. And so you might be familiar with, emails that you like cart abandonment emails that you send out, that you automate based on people landing on one of those pages and not signing up. And so you can actually do something really similar with retargeting ads. And so just to kind of cover, the idea of retargeting, so people are probably not going to convert the first time or even the fifth time they hit your site. And so the idea here is that when you bring these new people to your website, you want to educate them, nurture them, and show up regularly for them. Surround them with your messaging so that they understand who you are, understand the value of engaging with your organization over time, and eventually convert, right? And so it takes multiple touch points for someone to actually become a donor or a supporter or a member. And so you want to be showing up wherever they are online with these display ads that kind of remind them of your cause and why they should get involved. And you can, get really specific with the page visits or the actions that you want to serve as those triggers for ads. So like I said, somebody visiting Your homepage might be, a trigger for an ad about just like delivering a little bit more information about your cause. Whereas somebody who visits your donate page, you would then want to retarget them with ads that are a little bit more specific to the appeal, the ask, the donation campaign. And so, yeah, cart abandonment is a super useful, use case for retargeting. And you can actually get started with retargeting in general with a really small budget. So you don't have to have thousands of dollars. You can start with a few hundred, and it's probably going to be a lot less than whatever you might be spending on direct mail appeals. So definitely consider retargeting as a great way to kind of stay on top of people's radar year round, and especially heading into kind of these end of year giving appeals. Yep. And then just to show a few examples, so this is the Sea Turtle Conservancy, and so they have this sort of, donor form here, and if somebody hits this and does not end up making a donation, then they, as they're browsing foodnetwork.com, looking at recipes at the holidays, they would then see one of these really pretty looking display ads here, encouraging them to go back and finish their donation. Another example here, this is from the YMCA of Metropolitan Fort Worth. So they do registration dropout campaigns using retargeting ads for programs. So people who are, visiting the after school care programs on their website, but then not signing up their kids, they will then see ads showing up all over the web as they're browsing on Food Network and news sites, reminding them to come back and register. And obviously instilling, a bit of a sense of urgency in ads like this can be really helpful if they have shown interest, but then for whatever reason didn't actually complete the action. Another example here is registration dropout for events. So this is from Quad City Symphony Orchestra. They were promoting their Harry Potter 6 in concert performance last year, and the target audience here was people who visited that event page but didn't purchase a ticket. So similarly to the last example, there's this sense of urgency. It's happening this Saturday, and just really hyper targeting those people who have indicated interest by visiting the page but did not complete the registration process. So these are people who are, your warmest audience, but people get distracted. Their wallet's in a different room. They have multiple tabs open, so you want to be honing in on those people who are primed for your cause or your event, and reminding them to re-engage. And then donation dropout is another big use case for retargeting ads. So this is from the Food Bank of Northern Nevada. So people who visit this donate page and don't end up making a gift will then see ads like this one, encouraging them to come back. Alrighty. So let's talk about a different digital advertising campaign type called CRM retargeting. So this is a great way to get back on the radar of people who maybe have disengaged with you, but were once engaged and you have their email address. So we call this email mapping in Feathr. So for any Feathr users here, that's the campaign type I'm talking about. I think it's more broadly known as CRM retargeting, so that might ring a bell. And this basically lets you use an email address as a unique identifier to reach people with ads. So no emails are sent through this campaign type. It's a display ad campaign, just like retargeting or geofencing. You're simply using those email lists that you have of people who were engaged. So it might be, lapsed donors, lapsed members, current members even. You can, pull your email subscribers list and serve them ads based on their emails. You can also use an email unsubscribe list, right? So people who've unsubscribed from your emails because maybe they are, their inbox is overwhelming and they don't want to receive the emails every week or every month or whatever, but you can serve ads to them to try to kind of get back on their radar, get them back into the fold if they want, without emailing them. So yeah, this is a great, a couple of examples here are targeting last year's attendees to an event with an early bird or reminder ads about this year's event. Like I said, targeting lapsed members or lapsed donors with ads to re-engage them. So, if you have an e-appeal coming up here for Giving Tuesday or end of year, you might want to serve ads via email mapping to people in your database who have given before, but maybe haven't given in a while. And then just a couple of examples here of some CRM retargeting campaigns. So this is from the Columbus Museum of Art in Ohio. And they have an annual Valentine's Day event. And so for this year's Valentine's Day event, they targeted a few different email lists with these ads. So basically, the email lists were their members, so museum members, attendees to the previous year's Valentine's Day event, people who are in this Art Bites group, and then Wonder Ball attendees. So that's a different event that they host every year. And so they basically took all of these email lists and served ads to those people as they were browsing the web and on social media. So we'll get into a little bit more about social media advertising in a couple minutes, but these are some, I love this ad, it's really cute, but yeah, just some great examples of display ads based on email addresses. And then again, the YMCA of Metro Fort Worth, they actually they cast a pretty broad net here. So in one of their fundraising campaigns this year, they targeted all of their current members with the donation appeal. So just asking people to donate and to support. And they figured, anyone who's a current member might be primed to support us in other ways. And so they served ads to them in addition to emails, to the people who were subscribed to their email lists. Alrighty. Let's talk about geofencing. So this is a great way to kind of target specific locations where you know that people who you're trying to reach are living, working, and playing. But before I get into this, I wanted to ask the audience if anyone is using geofencing to drop in some specific locations that you've targeted. I'm curious to hear because I have a few examples here that I'm going to show. But for anyone who does use geotargeting, geofiltering, what are some places that you've tried to geofence? I know competing events are a big one. Other venues, churches, places of worship, things like that. So if anyone has done this, drop in some ideas. I'd just love to see what you guys are up to. We targeted a location where denomination had their annual meeting. Okay, cool. Past 5Ks for an upcoming 5K. Yep, competitor locations. Yeah, and geo-targeting your own events is actually a really interesting use case. So I've talked to a few people who use Feathr to actually geofence their own shows and their own performances because, the warmest audience for an upcoming event is somebody who's literally at your current event right now or has attended one of your previous events. And so you can use historical geofencing as well to target physical locations in the past. We used to, but not anymore, competitor locations, family gathering places like parks. Yep, that's a good one. Schools, parks, things like that if you're trying to reach parents or families. Okay, specific country clubs. Yes, if you're looking for those high ticket donors. We'll get into that a little bit too. Event center locations. Okay. Grocery stores. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, people are always on their phones when they're shopping. So great stuff. Yeah, thanks, guys. Cool. Let's get into some other examples. So just to kind of show you a little visual of what this looks like in Feathr, so you can kind of see the map, and this example is showing targeting high-income neighborhoods in Gainesville, Florida. So Gainesville is where Feathr is actually headquartered. That's where I live. And so, every town has its high income areas. And if you can kind of identify what those are, those can be great places to sort of, put a geofence around and say, like, I want to serve ads to the people who live in this specific location because they are going to have disposable income to give and might be more likely to be charitable because they have that money. And so you want to show them ads, based on these demographic factors like address and income. And then just an example here, this is a Gainesville organization called Grace Marketplace, dedicated to ending homelessness through providing services and safe shelter, permanent housing solutions. It's a great organization. And they target areas in Gainesville like the one we just saw. So they'll, serve ads like this one to those high income neighborhoods. I think someone said, country clubs, golfing events, things like this. So if you know where people who have money are congregating, those are great places to start. And then this is Playhouse on the Square. So this is another Feathr user. They actually geofence other local theaters. So this is a Memphis-based community theater. And I talked to the marketing person at this organization, and he, was talking about how they geofence. There's a theater nearby them, and so they'll geofence that one because there's audiences that I think, are similar to the ones that they're trying to bring in. And so they have a great, loyal following, but always trying to get in front of new people. And so geofencing other similar locations is a great way to do this. And he and I were kind of laughing because it kind of feels sometimes like, oh, am I stealing this audience? But we called it sharing the love. So, if you have a good cause that you're looking for people to donate to, or you're putting on amazing shows that you think people will enjoy, finding those people wherever they already are is the way to get them to come engage with your cause or your event. So, geofencing is a really good way to kind of find those people and get in front of them. And then this is the food bank for Central and Northeast Missouri. So they actually, I like this example because it's a little bit different than, what we're talking about typically with appealing to people who might donate or engage with your cause. This is actually serving ads to the neighbors, so the beneficiaries of this organization's services. So they were opening up a new pantry last year, and they wanted to target people who were going and getting services from their central pantry to let them know that this new pantry was going to be opening. So they actually targeted their own central pantry with these ads, letting neighbors know that there would be new resources available to them soon. They could click through on this CTA here and get to a page where they could learn more about when the pantry was opening, where it was, what services were available, all of that stuff. So definitely, if you're a health services or human services, think about the ways that you can use these advertising campaigns, not only to reach donors and attendees and supporters, but also beneficiaries. And then just a few more geofencing ideas. We've talked about some of these and some people dropped these in already, which is awesome. But country clubs, yacht clubs, golf courses are obvious places to reach, wealthy people who might be big ticket donors. Same with expensive neighborhoods. Churches and places of worship are a great place to try to target. Festivals, concerts, sporting events. So if you're hosting an event, you might target geofence similar events to yours. And also just generally speaking, people who are attending these kinds of events might have money to spare, right? University campuses, this might go for, if you're looking to get in front of students, or if you're a member-based organization and you're looking for younger members, kind of reaching that next generation of members, campuses can be a great place to geofence. And then other nonprofit fundraisers. So again, people who are attending fundraisers, like maybe 5Ks or galas, things like that. There are obviously people who are, interested in supporting causes and might be interested in supporting yours. Okay, so let's talk about affinity targeting. So this is a campaign type that allows you to promote your work or your organization to relevant new groups of people based on demographic, industry, in-market buyer data. And so it gives you access to all of these new audience segments that are similar to your current followers. And so just a couple of examples here. Again, these are Feathr examples. So this is the United Way of Asheville and Buncombe County. She did an affinity targeting campaign to what she called book nerds. So this was for a Giving Tuesday holiday book drive that she did last year. And so she actually was able, and this is kind of just to show you how highly targeted you can get with this campaign type, she was able to pull purchase history from people who actually had shopped at Barnes and Noble. And she figured, okay, people who are shopping at bookstores might, have books that they want to donate. And so she then served these ads asking people to donate books to the campaign. And then this is a little bit more of a comprehensive affinity targeting campaign example. So this is from the Columbus Museum of Art. We saw them earlier. So this customer targeted a few different lists for the Women in Art exhibit that they had this past year. So some of the groups that she targeted for this using affinity targeting were in market, or people who were in market or showing interest in museums, art galleries, and gardens. People who were interested in arts and culture, social media influencers, and people who had purchased cultural events tickets. Okay, let me quickly check the chat. Anyway, so she served these ads here to people who were on these lists. So this is, Mark, this is third-party data that is available in Feathr. So this is a campaign that you can run in Feathr, pulling data from third-party platforms. And so you can serve ads to people based on these lists within Feathr. Okay, and then let me just quickly scroll up just to make sure I didn't miss anything. What was number 2? Robin, if you could, oh, CRM retargeting. Okay, yeah, CRM retargeting was number 2. Okay, and then we did geofencing, and now we're on affinity targeting, just to catch everyone up. All right, now let's move on to the 5th one. So taking paid social beyond boosted posts. So, boosting posts is a great way to kind of get started with paid social. This is basically just putting a little bit of money behind your organic posts to get them in front of more eyeballs. And this is a solid place to start. And this example is from Grace Marketplace. So at the time that this campaign was running, I think they had about 5,000 followers on their social media on Facebook. And they were only getting about 362 impressions per post, which is actually not super low considering how Facebook doesn't really favor organizations trying to get their posts out there, but it was obviously lower than they wanted. And so they started boosting posts, put a little bit of budget behind that, and they were able to go from that to about 1,000 to 2,000 impressions. And so this is great progress. Putting a little bit of money behind your organic post can be a great way to get the word out. But you can do even more with paid social, including actually running retargeting ads and email mapping ads or CRM retargeting on social. So this is an example from the food bank for Central and Northeast Missouri. So they basically use Feathr to run retargeting on Facebook. So this means that people who have visited their website, so their homepage, their donate page, event page, and then left will actually start to see their ads on Facebook. So they're running those retargeting display ad campaigns all over the web. So if they visit the website, they'll go see them on other websites as well, but also the social media websites that they're browsing. So it's a great way to get in front of people, where they're spending their time, because people are looking at the news, they are looking at, Food Network and stuff, but people spend a lot of time on social media. So if you can retarget the people who are visiting your website when they're spending time on Facebook and Instagram and platforms like that, it's a really good way to ensure that you're kind of, doing that surround sound messaging and getting in front of people. And then, like I said, email mapping or CRM retargeting, which we just talked about a couple minutes ago, you can also do this on Facebook and Instagram through Feathr. And so this is an example from the American Friends of the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra, AFIPO. And so they targeted a specific list of members about this gala that they had coming up, and they used Feathr to run the CRM retargeting on Meta. So again, they're using these email lists of members that they already have, using those emails as unique identifiers to then serve these ads to people on social media as they're browsing. And then Feathr lets you track, all of the reach, the impressions, views, clicks, and all of this, as well as conversions from these campaigns. So you can actually see, okay, when we're investing in paid social on Facebook with these ads, how many conversions are we actually driving? How many people registered for this gala? So in this example, you can see they got 39 conversions from this campaign. But seeing the conversions is just a really helpful way to know which channels are actually working for you. Okay, so for anyone who has not applied for the Google Ad Grant, this is me telling you to look into it. I think it's a really helpful tool for nonprofits. And so I think a lot of people on here probably have, applied for this and maybe are using it. But if you haven't, or if you feel kind of discouraged or it's a little daunting, I definitely encourage you to look into this. So we're going to get into the details. Yes, Winston, we will be sending the recording out after, along with the slide deck. So look out for that in your inbox tomorrow morning. Okay, So just as a quick refresher, what is Google Ads? So these are the sponsored ads that show up at the top of the Google search results page. So when you're typing something into Google search, you see those sponsored ads at the top that kind of skip the line and go up there to the top. And we've all clicked on those before. And so this is what Google Ads allows you to do, kind of skip the line and show up higher up on the results page. And this operates on a pay-per-click model. So you're only paying if someone actually clicks through to your website. So what is the Google Ad Grant for anyone who's unfamiliar? This allows qualifying nonprofits to have access to up to $10,000 per month in search ads shown on Google. So this is basically free money that Google gives you. There are some specifications around how to use it. And I think that's where a lot of nonprofits kind of get a little bit bogged down and sort of like actually making sure they're using the budget. But if you can figure out a way to optimize that, it's literally free money for you to get in front of new people through organic search. So helps you spread your mission to a larger audience for free. And yeah, this is basically just Google attempting to sort of unlock the power of search, paid search and its search engine to more meaningful organizations. So helps level the playing field a little bit for nonprofits when there's so many for-profit organizations out there with huge budgets for paid search. So kind of skipping the line is helpful when it comes to competing with the larger forces. So what are some of the benefits? I think a lot of this goes without saying, but you're expanding awareness of your services, reaching potential donors, volunteers, or even employees. So if you're doing some staff recruitment efforts, Google search can be a great place to, or Google Ads can be a great place to show up for people looking for jobs. It's a great way to complement your other marketing channels, digital advertising efforts. It helps you understand your audience better through data, and you'll get a little bit of insight into the terms that people are actually searching for, the language that resonates, and you can then take that and use it more in your email marketing, your overall branding, the way you talk about your cause. And again, helping you stay competitive with other nonprofits who might be also taking advantage of this Google Ad grants, as well as for-profits, obviously. So just a quick sort of breakdown is your nonprofit eligible? Again, I'll be sending out this presentation so you can click through on all these links, but you have to be registered as a 501c3 nonprofit in one of the countries on this list here that's linked. And there are a few other stipulations here, like you have to have a website that's hosted on its own unique domain. So that would be like nonprofit, name.org versus like .squarespace.com, things like that. And there's some terms and conditions that you have to agree to, but go ahead and, when you get this presentation, if you're interested, click through on these links and kind of check out, if you're eligible and start looking into the steps for applying. And the portal to apply is here. And Feathr allows you to, run Google Ads campaigns in the platform. So kind of simplifying your workflow, bringing that campaign type alongside all of your other campaigns in Feathr, if you are using Feathr, just kind of simplifies it and gives you more accurate reporting because you're seeing everything in one place. Alrighty. So we've just talked about, Google Ads, paid search. Let's talk about amplifying that with another version of paid search, which is search retargeting. So again, for Feathr users, you probably know this as keyword search or keyword search targeting. That's how we have it in the platform, but search retargeting is another way to describe this. So this basically lets you, as opposed to what we just saw, which is showing up on the results page as people are searching, this lets you target people based on the words that they're searching, but long after or just after. So, if somebody is searching cancer research, where to donate, right? With Google Ads, you might show up at the top of that page and they can click through. But you also want to be showing up with ads after because they're obviously interested in this, right? So whether or not you're showing up through Google Ads, search retargeting allows you to show up with display ads as they continue browsing the web. So maybe a couple days later, they'll see one of your ads because they typed in those keywords 2 days before. And so this is a really powerful thing to combine with Google ad campaigns, as well as all of your other digital advertising campaigns, to really just get in front of new people based on the things that they themselves are saying that they're looking for, right? And so this is an example from Palmetto Community Care, which is a Feathr user. And so they targeted a few different keyword categories. This is an organization that offers services to people living with HIV and AIDS. And so they offer medical services, mental health counseling, other resources. And so these are some of the ads that they served to people who had searched for keywords in these categories. So affirming medical care, home testing, PrEP clinics near me. So all of these relevant keywords, then they, would continually see these ads showing up as they're browsing the web on their mobile devices, on their laptops, encouraging them to click through to the site and learn more about the services available to them. Okay, and then this is kind of, a little bit more like of a general idea, less related to specific advertising campaigns. But I think one of the things that we sometimes forget to do because we're so in the weeds with the work is like we're just knocking things out and moving on and not necessarily going through the process ourselves to see what's working and what's not and what it feels like as an actual human being to go through the conversion flow. So, just a few things to check for it, but I would just encourage you, even, today or this week, to challenge yourself to go through your donation process or go through your event registration process and check for certain things because you've set everything up or your team has set everything up and things might be working from like a back end perspective, but you want to make sure that, it actually feels like a smooth process to go through. And I'd also recommend asking a couple people in your life to like go through the process as well and give feedback. So maybe asking an older person that a family member or an older friend to go through and give their take on the conversion flow, as well as maybe a younger family member or a friend's kid or something to kind of get that younger generation take from like a more tech savvy person on like, does this feel mobile friendly? Does this feel like an easy process? Because a lot of people get kind of stopped up in the actual process of signing up for things. And if it's not smooth, they might not, end up engaging or completing their donation or their registration. And it's not because they're not interested, it's just because things aren't optimized. So it's a really easy place to kind of start. And I think going through the process yourself is a great way to do that. So a few things to check for. How quickly does your website load? How easy is it to find the donate page or the event page or whatever? So if you're landing on your home page, you want to make sure that people can easily navigate to the page where you're looking to convert people. How many required fields? So you want to make sure that you don't have too many, but you're getting the information that you want. How many clicks from start to finish? So how long does it take to actually go through the process? I registered for a local event this past weekend and I went because I had already committed to going with some friends, but I remember thinking like there were just so many fields. It required my address and like lots of different pieces of information about me that didn't seem relevant to buying a ticket to this little local festival. And so I think that kind of thing can really get in the way of people actually completing signups. So definitely, get the information you need, but don't overwhelm people with form fields. And then try different devices and screen sizes, make sure everything is, looking good and fitting to the screen sizes. And that kind of brings us to, making sure that your website is mobile friendly and your content in general. It can take less than a second for a new web visitor to form an opinion about your organization. And those first impressions are most often related to design and UX and flow. Especially for those younger generations that grew up with digital first and expect super easy conversion processes online. So, first glance at your site impacts how people will see future interactions with your org as well. So you want to make sure you make that first, a good first impression. And so starting with your homepage makes sense, but then those other high impact pages like donate pages, registration pages, things like that, you want to make sure that you're revisiting those regularly, making sure they're optimized, especially for mobile. Most people sign up for these things on mobile nowadays. And so, yeah, just some tips for sort of like, yeah, back to basic stuff, like make sure all of this is running smoothly because everything else we're talking about stems from this. Like if your website is solid, mobile friendly, people can go through the process of converting easily, then all of those digital advertising campaigns that you're investing in are going to be sending people to a place where things run smoothly and conversions are happening and ROI is coming in for you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Print advertising, because I know that a lot of nonprofits still invest heavily in print advertising. Part of this is because, a lot of older donors like receiving direct mailers, and a lot of the biggest donors are people who still expect that personal touch, and there's nothing wrong with that. And print ads around town can be really useful if you have like a local event and you want to, put ads up and things like that. So we're not knocking print advertising, but it's really cool to be able to actually bring the data about your print ad campaigns into the same platform where you're tracking other things. And Feathr offers a campaign type called tracked links, which lets you do this. So this basically lets you measure the impact of all of your marketing efforts in the same platform by attaching a unique UTM code to any URL. So if that's your event registration page, you attach a unique custom tracking code to that URL. And so anywhere that you're using that, you're going to be able to see where people came to your event page from. You can also use QR codes on print pieces. So if you have posters up or direct mailers, you can have QR codes so that people who get to your site from those, you'll be able to see that data and know sort of where people are coming from and which mailers are working, which print ads are actually working. And so you can do that, like I said, with print ads, social media. So if you decide to run your social media directly in those platforms, or if you're using LinkedIn ads, things like that, you can pull that into the same platform as your other advertising campaigns to kind of compare channels side by side. Dating apps are another fun one. We'll get into that in a second. So again, Palmetto Community Care, they actually promote, so they have an annual fundraising event called Beer Fest. So it's basically a beer festival where they have local music groups and food trucks and things like that. It's a really popular event, and they promote it via print ads, social media. They have ads on dating apps, media company placements around town and on different platforms. And they're able to bring all of this conversion data into Feathr by using those unique tracking links and those QR codes on print pieces. And so I thought the dating app example was cool because I hadn't ever seen that before, but they're able to actually place ads on dating apps and then pull that data in as well to see how those ads are performing compared to their ads on social media or their display ads around the web. So alrighty, and then treating email as a performance marketing channel. So we kind of talked about this a little bit at the very beginning, but I think it's important to determine, for each email that you're sending, what are the metrics that you're actually trying to optimize? And sometimes we get a little bit, it can be overwhelming if you're like, I just want to improve the overall performance of all of the metrics. I think it's helpful to kind of start with one or two. And when you're focusing on a specific email, maybe focus on open rates to start or click-through rates, right? And this will actually help you determine what you want to test and what you want to iterate on. So if you're trying to improve open rates, for example, you'll want to A/B test your subject lines, right? So maybe this is trying a question versus a statement in the subject line, emoji versus no emoji, an impact statement with numbers in it versus more emotional language about impact. So it just kind of allows you to hone in on, what are we actually focusing on? Is it opens? Is it clicks? Is it conversions? And that's another important point, is that being able to actually track individual conversions from each email is a really important metric to have in your marketing platform. So this is an example of a Feathr email report here. And then just wanted to show this is one of my favorite email templates of all time. This is from the Japan America Society of Washington, D.C. So this is an email template that they built in Feathr to promote one of their events a couple years ago, a Cherry Blossom Festival in DC. And I think it's just a really beautiful email. It was very high performing. As you can see, they got 681 event registrations just from this email alone. The CTR was, the click-through rate was 10%, open rate was super high at almost 60%. And so just kind of showing you the importance of being able to see the actual conversion number from the emails lets you, really sort of determine which emails are performing best and whether email marketing as a channel is doing what it needs to for you. And I just included a couple of little nuggets here about the types of campaigns that you can run in Feathr. So single send campaigns are kind of your typical one-to-many marketing emails. So you can send newsletters, you can send event reminders, donation requests, anything to a predefined segment. Auto send campaigns are those behavior-based automated emails. So it helps you catch people when they're most engaged, with your cause, or with your website. And so people who've just visited your donate page and they leave, you want to hit them with one of these automated emails to bring them back, similar to what we talked about at the beginning of the presentation with retargeting, cart abandonment. It's the same kind of concept. So when people are actually most primed to hear from you is going to be when they've just visited your site or just visited your donate page. And so you want to time your outreach accordingly. And then drip campaigns, like someone mentioned earlier, are now available in Feathr. So anyone who didn't hear that at the beginning, any Feathr users who have heard word of drip campaigns becoming available, they are now available at no extra cost in your Feathr account. And so this basically lets you set up automated email sequences to share relevant content over time. So, if you have new donors, you might want to set up an automated email series welcoming them, thanking them for their donation, and then kind of continuing to showcase the impact that their donation had. And the goal is just to thank them and to engage them, but to keep them engaged over time and not just kind of have like a one and done kind of relationship. Same thing with new members, new email subscribers. You can set up all kinds of welcome series, educational series, things like this using drip campaigns. Okay. And then letting your ad performance inform your overall messaging. And so this is actually maybe kind of like a niche tip, but I talked to the YMCA of Metropolitan Fort Worth, and that customer who's actually joined me for a webinar a couple weeks ago. So I was like really happy to have her on and share her insights, but she basically has A/B tested ad copy for their after school programs and determined that certain language really works well with their audience and certain language was kind of a bust. And so being able to see which ads perform well and which ones don't really get the click-throughs that you want or don't get the follow-through that you want. So people might click on it, then get to the page and not sign up. And that's an indicator that there's some kind of disconnect between what they saw in the ad and what they thought they were clicking into versus what they saw on your website or your donate page or your sign up page. So you want to be looking at how the language on your ads and the creatives on your ads are connecting with the thing that you're actually getting people to click through to on your website, making sure that's cohesive. And so, for example, they tested out language around after school care, and then they also were using the term childcare. And what they found was that when people clicked through on the ads that said childcare, they weren't actually signing up for the programs. And the reason was because the people who were clicking through on childcare were actually parents of much younger kids, like toddlers and babies. And the programs that they were offering were for kids more like between 7 and 11 years old. And so they would click through on childcare and then get to the YMCA's page and actually realize, no, this isn't for me. My child is too young. Whereas the people who were clicking through on the ads that said after school care would get to the page and think, yes, this is my child's age group, would sign up. And so the success of those after school care ads was much higher than childcare. And that told them everything they needed to know about, what is the connection here between the ads and what we're actually promoting. And people will give you that information. Like if you're looking at the data that you have from your advertising campaigns, you will be able to make these connections and kind of see the patterns because people aren't going to sign up for something they don't want to sign up for. And that's all you need to kind of know to understand what's resonating and what's not. And so I thought this was just a really cool example of sort of actually using the data that's available to you after you've run advertising campaigns and letting that not only inform those campaigns, because you can iterate on your campaigns as they're running, right? You can play around with language, try out some new ads during the campaign to kind of optimize results. But also, I think that gave them a lot of insight into like what kind of language resonates in general with their audience, what kind of language they should use in their email marketing, and in their website and in their branding. And so I just encourage, and kind of similar to the item that we talked about with like just testing your own workflows and testing your own conversion flows, just like really looking at what's working and what's not, and looking at the data that's available to you and finding time to apply that, to campaigns that you're running. Because I think, again, nonprofit marketers are overworked and understaffed, and that's a whole thing, and it can be hard, I think, to take the time to reassess and look at the data and let that inform what you're doing, because it's just a lot of go, go, go. But wherever you can find pockets of time to do this kind of assessment and look back and see what's working and what's not, I encourage you to try to find the time to do that, and let it inform your overall brand strategy, because I think it can be really helpful. Alrighty, well, that wraps things up. I'm gonna see if there's any questions that I didn't get to. But yeah, we're finishing up a little early today. And if I didn't get to any of the questions, I'll also try to address these questions in follow-up. Yeah, like I said, we will be sending out the recording after the webinar. Let me see. Okay, I see someone saying that you weren't able to apply for Google Ad Grant. Yeah, I know there's some very specific stipulations, and 501c4s are not eligible. Yeah, so within the Feathr platform, can you create the QR code? Yes, you can do that in Feathr. So if it's a tracking code that you're adding to a link, Feathr can generate that. And if it's a QR code, you can create that and add that to your print ads. Okay, cool, Jen, that's a great tip that you can create QR codes in Canva. That actually is a helpful tip. Okay, cool. Thanks for the feedback, Winston. Let's see here. Can you retarget ads to visitors to competitors' websites? No, no, you can't do that. I mean, this retargeting is based on visitors to your own web domains and web properties. So you basically are installing a tracking pixel on your own web properties that tracks those visits, and it anonymizes all of the data unless it's somebody who's opted in and given you their email address. But for people who've never given you their email address and are coming to your website for the first time, you're just getting anonymized data on that web visit, and then you can retarget those people after they've left your site or your web properties. But you can't retarget people who visited other web properties. Would be great if you could. That would be like digital geofencing, but yeah, so Jen, I think, I think that like when it comes to potential donors, you want to think about demographically who you're trying to target. So like we talked about in the geofencing section, yeah, I think geo-targeting and affinity targeting are really great audience expansion campaigns to get in front of relevant people. Thinking about, are we looking for big ticket donors, like people who are going to donate a ton of money? If so, you might want to geofence those wealthy areas of town, golfing events, country clubs, things like that. If you're looking for people who are interested in a specific cause, you can do that through affinity targeting. You can look at people's purchase history and find people who are relevant based on what they've indicated that they're interested in. So I think it's about starting with like, who do we want to actually bring in? What type of donors are we looking for? What do those demographic profiles look like? Almost creating personas for the donors you're looking for, and then leveraging these types of campaigns to get in front of those groups of people. And again, the types of audience expansion campaigns I talked about, those are for getting in front of net new people who may or may not know about your cause and bringing them to your site to learn more. But it's going to be the retargeting campaigns that help you stay on their radar over time, social advertising, kind of continuing to show up with the goal of bringing them back again and like educating them so that they eventually trust you and buy in and want to engage. So these audience expansion campaigns are very sort of initial. It's putting you in front of lots of new eyeballs, but it's going to be about continuing to nurture those people to actually, become donors or members or loyal supporters over time. And then obviously trying to get their email address through form fills or content downloads so that you can add them to your email lists and also reach them in the inbox. So it's really about creating sort of a funnel where you're really nurturing people from that initial point of reaching them through geofencing or through affinity targeting, getting in front of them and then bringing them into the fold over time. Good data about geo-targeting in clubs and neighborhoods. Yeah. Yep, golf related. Yeah, I know golfing always comes up in these conversations because I feel like golfing events are always full of high ticket potential donors. So, yep. All right, yeah, let's go ahead and launch the demo poll, Rachel, if you could do that. So I just wanted to get a sense of, if anyone is interested in learning a little bit more about how Feathr can help you run these campaigns. We can talk to you about Google Ad Grant if you're interested. And yeah, kind of doing all of this email marketing, digital advertising all in one place and being able to report on that. So if you are interested, please let us know in this poll. I see lots of Feathr customers on here already, which is great. But yeah, keep dropping those answers in. We'd love to connect with you and give you sort of a more personalized walkthrough of a lot of what I've talked about and other campaign types and kind of see where you're at as an organization and how we can fit in to what you're already doing and yeah, make it a little easier. I've used Feathr for a client who had it. Okay. Okay, cool. Great to know. Thanks, Jen. Alrighty, we'll keep dropping those in. I see some more coming in still. But yeah, if you drop a yes in there, we'll connect you with somebody who can give you just like a more detailed walkthrough of the app and just ask you some questions about what you're doing already as an organization, where some of your pain points are, and how some of these campaigns might fit in well for that. So cool. Well, I'm going to give you all 6 minutes of your day back, but I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for joining, and hope to see you on the next one.